WrestleMania 38 is now in the books, and it was a pretty average event. Of course, not everything was bad. There was a real variety of matches here, with title encounters, gimmick matches, and a huge main event that failed to live up to expectations. WrestleMania does not feel WrestleMania anymore. It just feels like any other premium or pay-per-view event. Maybe it's the two-night thing, or maybe it's something else, but one thing is for sure, there is nothing special about this event anymore. What was good was actually the variety of matches, but before we get to that, I think it's important to point out that the aesthetics were good. The overlays worked and that stage was top-notch. Those are the departments where WWE never go wrong. Now, let's focus on the matches. Night 1 started with the SmackDown Tag Team titles on the line. Everything that took place within the encounter was fine, but it never kicked into a WrestleMania-worthy encounter. A reason for this could have been because Rick Boogs appeared to be legitimately injured. Because of that, everything ended up being cut short, therefore they didn't get to have the match that was planned. This was unfortunate, as they were putting together some good work. But they did adapt nicely from an unfortunate circumstance to wrap things up quickly. As for this one, then fans had low expectations going in, but Drew McIntyre and Happy Corbin worked hard to surprise everyone. They worked together brilliantly here in a hard-hitting match that featured some great moments. The audience got involved with everything, and that led to an impressive match. Celebrity matches at WrestleMania are always hit and miss, but this was a great example of how to do it right. Logan Paul was able to really work his heel gimmick, getting tons of heat. He looked great in the ring, especially with his suplexes and frog splash combination, which got huge heat. They went back and forth throughout in an engaging encounter, breaking up pinfalls, taking cheap shots, and making the most of their time in the ring. Logan was the real star of this one though, putting in an incredible performance, clearly showing he has what it takes to do this. This was probably the best match of night 1. Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair put together an incredible match that was more than main event worthy. Their chemistry was undeniable, having callbacks to SummerSlam, adding in amazing near falls, and really clever spots. From a manhandle slam on the stairs to Bianca hitting top rope moves, it was a brilliant encounter. There was fantastic psychology added in, as the two of them were able to reverse other moves that happened earlier in the match. It featured clever storytelling, and the fans were hooked. In the end, Bianca got her revenge and walked out of WrestleMania as the champion. There was a lot of anticipation and hype for this match, but it did disappoint. From Cody Rhodes being the surprise opponent to the actual in-ring content that they provided. The two men worked through things at a nice pace, building up the spots as things went on to become more intense. But then it felt like a non-organic return match for Cody using Seth as a scapegoat. This is the third straight WrestleMania loss for Seth, someone who was supposed to be the face of WWE. And it was against someone who worked with a rival company and numerously downplayed WWE. This is as poor as the writing goes for WWE. Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey worked poorly together here, with many clunky moments. There were parts of this that looked a little awkward at times as well. However, they battled through those situations, piecing together an average, but sometime an enjoyable women's title match that featured few strong spots. But you always felt that this was just a rematch setup encounter and nothing else. On the grandest stage of them all, that looks very poor. And the end was as bad as well. With a big boot getting the win for Charlotte was very flat, everything before that was as bad. Nobody quite knew what to expect from this situation heading into things. However, the WWE Universe was given a no-holds-barred match between them, which was a lot of fun to watch. Of course, this wasn't Steve Austin in his prime, but nobody expected that to be the case. Instead, it was just tons of fun to close the show. Austin took several great bumps, while Kevin Owens withstood the majority of the punishment to make Austin look great. This wasn't an in-ring classic, but it was the exact type of WrestleMania fun people wanted, with Austin drinking his beers as the match went on, which was hilarious. Night 1 of WrestleMania was poor, but at least it ended in a great way. Night 2 of WrestleMania 38 began in a very emotional way as Triple H officially announced his retirement from in-ring performance. He then left his boots in the ring, and that brought tears to my eyes. One of the greatest, and certainly one of WrestleMania's greatest performers, it is really sad to see him go out without his terms. But he is a legend, and he will remain a legend till the end of time. Thank you for all the memories. Congratulations on a wonderful career. Night 2's matches began with a triple threat tag team contest for the Raw Tag Team Championship. It had something going on at all times, with some amazing high-flying moments, brawls outside the ring, and great technical wrestling inside the squared circle. Everybody got a moment to shine, which is always a good thing in this, and the pace was kept high. It was a classic opener, with fans never having a moment to catch their breath. While the finish of 2 huge RKOs, with Randy Orton catching Chad Gable in mid-air, wrapping this up in a perfect way to get fans pumped from the start. Then it was Bobby Lashley vs Omos. This wasn't a classic, but it wasn't bad as well. The wrestling itself was basic, but that made sense. However, Lashley was able to power through a nasty bump as the back of his head slapped against a metal turnbuckle. He showed huge power by lifting Omos for the suplex as he picked up a solid win in a decent enough match. They kept things short and sweet, which was the right call in order not to highlight Omos' weaknesses. This match was complete carnage in every way possible. It was never going to be a technical encounter, and nobody wanted it to be. Instead, it was just all-out chaos that played into the stipulation. Sami Zayn sold brilliantly here, bumping around to really make the Jackass star look great. The fans bought into everything, and while it might not be for the wrestling purists, it is exactly what WrestleMania needs, which is some great entertainment. While the fans started a little quiet for this, they quickly got on board due to the hard work of the women involved. As is the case with these matches, there was plenty going on, mainly because so many women are involved. They all got a moment to shine, which was only right, and there were several great double-team moves. In the end, Sasha and Naomi came out victorious, which was more than a decent encounter. This was a methodical match, and at times the live crowd wasn't into it vocally, which did take away from things. However, they wrestled this brilliantly, telling the story of AJ Styles injuring his neck, which was focused on throughout by Edge. It was a smart story, with Styles fighting through everything. There was nothing memorable, but it was still an entertaining contest. Things finished with Damian Priest distracting AJ, who then springboarded into a huge mid-air spear, which was a fun moment. This one was cut for time constraints on night 1, but it didn't get much time on Sunday either. This felt like more of an angle than an actual match, because they got such little time. This should have not even been on the card. There wasn't enough wrestling here for this to be considered a good one, and it did feel like a standard SmackDown battle. This was tons of fun and showcased just how popular Pat McAfee is. The fans went nuts for him from start to finish, and it's obvious he's beloved. He also put together a great performance, not holding back at all. They worked fast, without many breaks. This was the right call, and McAfee got to showcase his athletic ability, from leaping to the top ropes to nailing a superplex. Having him win with a roll-up did protect Austin Theory as well, which was the smart call. Later, McAfee challenged McMahon, which always seemed like an impromptu match added to the card, and it wasn't a great one. Seeing Vince get physical again was certainly a moment though. However, there wasn't much to talk about here, with Pat McAfee taking all the bumps as Austin Theory cheated at ringside to help McMahon win. This was all done to set up Steve Austin's return afterward, which led to an amazing moment with him and Vince once again. But when it comes to this as a match, it was certainly not one for the history books. When it comes to WrestleMania main events, then there are very few matches which are worse than this. WWE tried all they could to sell this as the biggest WrestleMania match in history, but everyone knew that wasn't true. And this match did nothing to strengthen that claim from WWE. As expected, this was just a finisher fest and nothing else. No real wrestling here, folks. And the sadder thing is, none of these competitors even tried. Both men are huge stars and talented performers, but sadly, most viewers left WrestleMania 38 with a bad taste in their mouths, as the epic battle that WWE boss Vince McMahon and company promised didn't materialize. WWE may see Reigns and Lesnar as their two biggest stars, and they are individually, but all their matches have essentially followed the same script, one that wasn't that good to begin with. In the particular case of WWE WrestleMania 38, though, not helping things was an ending that was both sudden and anticlimactic. Reigns picked up the win and continued his impressive run, but apart from Lesnar, there isn't any other major superstar like these two. And that goes down to the writers and executives. Bray Wyatt could have been that, they released him. Seth Rollins could have been that, they've destroyed him. Lashley, Drew, and AJ Styles could be that, but they're not given enough chances. It's always just a one-off with them. My note to WWE, the next time you guys hype up a match this big, it better live up to that hype. So there you have it. Another WrestleMania goes without making an impact. I think what previous WrestleManias so special was that there weren't so many matches and every match felt big. You knew that not every superstar would get to the event. They had to work hard the entire year to win over the fans and force the writers to get them to the event. That's what made it so special. That's why it felt like an event. Sadly now, that's the case because everyone gets to the match card without much effort. That's what makes the entire year, not just WrestleMania, worthless. Hopefully, WWE will go back to its roots, but they have already advertised next year's WrestleMania as a two-night event again, so there is no promise. The future looks even more bleak. What do you guys make of it? Share your opinions in the comments section down below. I'd love to hear them. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps the channel grow.